I'm Wyatt Sharp here at the Canada Strong and Free Networking Conference in Ottawa. I'm joined by Saskatchewan Premier Scott Moe. Thank you so much for joining us.
Well, thank you, Wyatt. It's a pleasure to be here.
Thank you so much. I mean, we all listened to the talk that you gave earlier today. We heard from Danielle Smith yesterday. And certainly, there's a lot of talk right now about tariffs. And Danielle Smith, when I was asking her about this idea of retaliatory tariffs, says that she believes retaliatory tariffs are among the most damaging, specifically to businesses, out of all the tariffs that are being put forth. I guess just what's your overall perspective on that at a time when, Mark Carney is looking like he wants to impose more retaliatory tariffs if he gets elected?
Well, credit to Danielle for always making every effort to focus not only herself but to encourage other Canadians to focus on diplomacy. And what is going to find us through whatever this discussion looks like over the next number of months and weeks, it is for us to find a path to fair and tariff-free trade. And diplomacy is going to find that path. And so I would agree with Danielle when it comes to retaliatory tariffs. We've been, hesitantly or reluctantly supportive of the very focused retaliatory tariffs that we have. But as I said, we need to start to consider leading in this space. I've been in Washington a few times. What the message we have brought to policymakers and decision makers in Washington is one that President Trump's tariffs are going to have an impact first and foremost and deepest on American businesses and second, American families. Mm-hmm. If we accept that as fact, and I do, then counter tariffs put in place by the Canadian government would equally have a derogatory impact on Canadian businesses and Canadian families. And so why would we do that to ourselves? And so I think moving forward, it's time for us to, certainly have a very, informed discussion about, do we want to lead to that, that fair tariff-free trading environment? And if we want to, we may have to, start to consider making decisions about removing the retaliatory tariffs we have in place, because they do have an impact on Canadians, and then really encouraging our trading partners to follow.
And so I guess the question that a lot of people are asking too is, if not retaliatory tariffs, how do you either propose kind of a reasonable alternative, or I guess in an ideal world, get Donald Trump to back down, especially given you're seeing, some pretty conservative people in the U.S. like Ben Shapiro, Rand Paul come out and openly speak out against them.
You're also seeing the impacts of tariffs in the U.S. And those impacts, although they indirectly do, have an impact globally, with the retaliatory tariffs or the reciprocal tariffs that the president has put in place. The most direct and significant impact is directly into the U.S. community, U.S. businesses, U.S. families. And we've seen that, very much at a couple of different occasions. The same is true for Canada. And so my theory stands is we need to have a discussion around what is actually the impact of tariffs. I would say the impact is hurting your own citizens that you represent. And so if not retaliatory tariffs, then what? And I said earlier, if we are going to get to that fair trading environment, that tariff-free trading environment, it is going to take diplomacy. So let's do everything we can to open up those diplomatic channels of conversation, whether it be with the United States of America and the Trump administration, or in Saskatchewan's case, we have a great concern with the tariff on canola and peas and pork. And so those diplomatic channels need to be opened up as well between the Canadian government and the government of China.
And I mean, all of this we kind of knew was coming when Donald Trump was running for president, but certainly I think maybe does it spark kind of a conversation about the need to diversify our trade market beyond the U.S., and how do you go about doing that?
Yes, we always need to be focused on diversifying our trade market, not only beyond the U.S., but to as many markets of allied nations around the world that we can. However, in saying that, you aren't going to replace the U.S. market. Yeah. So if you think you're just going to replace the hundreds of billions of dollars that flow into the U.S., you're just not being serious. So as we grow our market value, we can diversify it around the world. And Saskatchewan, I would say, might be the model for that to happen. We've opened up provincial trade offices in 9 different markets now, markets of significance around the world, markets that we export more than $1 billion to, and we travel to those markets very much on the on the ground with political not only political delegations delegations, but supported by industries that are exporting into that market or importing from that market. And I would say that those delegations are actually industry led, and the politicians are really there to lend credence to the industries that are there. And so we do need to diversify our markets as we go forward, and that takes a concerted effort. You don't just step in and work on that trade relationship. It's something that has to be worked on, for years as you go through time, so that when you do have trade challenges, you do have the relationship and you're able to pick the phone up and make those phone calls. We had that relationship with many markets around the world. I would point back to when we were expanding our exports and trade in places like China. Saskatchewan Minister Jerry Ritz was in China as much as he was in Canada, selling agricultural products there. We had that relationship, a growing trade relationship with India and the European Union under the Harper administration. And so the last 9 years under the Liberal government, it's simply that foreign relationship building hasn't been a priority, and those chickens are coming home to roost today.